Yo, what's up guys? So today's video is gonna be about Olun's grinding. This guide is gonna be quite detailed because I will try to share with you guys all the information that I have about Olun's, all the mechanics, what kind of gear you need, all the buffs, the classes and so on. So buckle up boys and girls and let's get into it. So the first part of this guide is gonna be about requirements, what kind of things you need to be able to grind Olun's efficiently. And of course, you cannot grind Olun's efficiently without full Elixir rotations, okay guys? So you definitely want to be having at least one of the 3 sets of the party Elixirs. And the sets you guys can see on the screen. This list was made by BDO Olun Community Discord. The link will be in the description to join. It's an open community Discord to share knowledge, to have some fun, to find people to grind together. So feel free to join. There are a lot of useful information and people in that Discord. But I did add a couple elixirs to an addition to that list. It was the Helix elixir. It gives evasion, so if you're struggling with the incoming damage, it can be helpful. And there is a demi-human elixir. Why demi-human is because the arm of the golem is demi-human instead of Kamasila mob. So if you're struggling with killing the arm faster, the demi-human elixir can help. But the ones that are marked, highlighted with a gray background, they are not really needed situational type of elixirs, so it's up to you guys if you need them to use during your grinding. So that was it for party elixirs, but let's take a look what kind of other buffs you might need during Olun grinding. So we have here Willa buff, the Cron Mill. For Cron Mill, go for the Exquisite for the back attack and crit hit damage. You go for the Church buffs, of course, 5-hour versions are out there. For the Furniture buff, you go for either Shadow Line, which gives 15 AP, or you go for Verdure Do, because it gives 20 accuracy, and you might be missing accuracy. For Olun's, you want to be achieving approximately around 900 accuracy, bare accuracy, and around 20-25 accuracy rate, depending on your class, depending on your class modifiers. It can vary, but I would suggest you to go around 900. You want to be reaching 100% hit rate. You don't want to be seeing any misses during Olun grinding. You want to have 100% hit rate. So if you need accuracy, go for the Verdure Do. And of course, we go with the perfume. The best perfume out there is Deep Sea Elixir. This is the one, back attack 10% and hidden AP 10. It is the best perfume, quite hard to achieve. I think you can exchange Node War medals for Deep Seas, but this is the beast. If you cannot get those, then of course you can use the Courage. They cost kinda expensive, 10 million, so you spend 30 million per hour, but it might help you to get higher threshold. And lastly, you can use the buff that is called the Wind buff of the Kragdolo set. Gives you 5 AP, 5 hidden AP. It's only 5, but every bit of counts, okay guys? Every bit of AP counts. So I think that is it for the buffs. Wait, no, there are other things. NPC buffs. You want to have, if you want to min-max the amount of threshold that you can achieve, you want to get the buff NPC buffs. You can get NPC buff from Heidel, gives crit rate, no, not crit rate, it gives crit damage for 30 minutes, and you can get the Kamasila Monster damage. I think it gives 5 Kamasila Monster damage from Atani's Pond NPC. I don't remember her name, but those options are available for you guys if you want to push your trash to the limit. So those were the buff requirements. Another requirement to be able to grind Olun's is to be able to achieve 100% stun and knockdown resistances. With the Shy buff that gives you 40% to all resistance, it is easy to reach nowadays. All you need is to get a giant and adamantine in your boots. That's it, quite simple. For the next part, let me hide myself from the view. So you guys can see the entirety of the Garmot. And now you guys can see AP and DP. My recommendation for DP would be 370 DP. That way you would not be one-shotted by almost most of the skills of Olun's. And for AP, I would recommend to come at least with 301 AP, because it will be easier to find party if you have higher AP. And another thing that I would recommend is to focus on double pen black stars instead of focusing on the pen accessories. The reason why is because it gives you a lot of accuracy. You get way more accuracy from the black stars than from pen accessories. And as I said, you want to be reaching around 900 accuracy. For the artifact options, if you are able to reach 100% hit rate, then you go with the monster AP. If you're having issues with dying too much, then you go with a monster damage reduction. If you're not having enough accuracy, then you go with the melee accuracy or magic accuracy, whatever damage your class deals, you go with the accuracy set. So in that way, you can change the build depending on which situation you are in. If you're getting into the Olun grinding, then it might be good to have the monster damage reduction. These artifacts are great in reducing the amount of damage that you receive during PvE. For the Lightstone combo, the best Lightstone combo is Vicious Shadows if you can reach 100% crit rate. If you cannot reach 100% crit rate, then you go for Death Bluff. If you cannot get Strike but can reach 100% crit rate, then you go for the Kama Sylvia. Those are my Lightstone combination recommendations. And I am back! The last thing that I want to mention in this section is list of the classes that are great of grinding Oluns. You want to be definitely having at least one Shy and two other DPS classes. Those can be Sack Zerker, Sack Striker, Sack Lan, Sack Hashashin, a lot of Sacks, Awakening Nova. So those are great classes that I know of. There are pretty sure more great classes to grind Oluns with, but currently the Beast combo, the Beast party that managed to pull the highest amount of trash loot currently is Sack Striker, Shy, and Awakening Nova. They managed to pull, I think, 5,373 trash loot, if I remember correctly, with a Blue Scroll and Agris. Of course, those players are exceptional. They are top of the top in PvE at Olun grinding. They've always been pushing the highest amount of trash loot, but it makes sense. Awakening Nova has high amount of mobility. Her mobility is so busted, and that is great for pre-pulling and not wasting DPS time. So you can do your Olun pre-pulling in between the iframe animations as efficiently as possible and lose less time DPSing, so you get higher amount of kills per hour. That's pretty much it. So those are the list of the classes that I know of that perform great. I'm pretty sure there might be more classes that will be popping out depending on the situation. There are buffs and nerfs happening all the time in the video, so at current situation, those are the classes that are great at grinding Oluns. But that was it for this section. Let's get into the next section, the Olun animations. So in this section of the guide, we'll be talking about attack animations and mechanics of the Olun itself. There are two attacks that you want to be extremely careful about. The one that is called Nuking, you can see in the background currently playing. It is a long range attack and it is launched when the player with the aggro is at certain distance from the mob. We will talk about it a bit later on when in the section where we will talk about forcing nukes and so on. And the second animation or other attack is called swiping. This is how it looks like. Basically, it swipes the arm and it can one-shot you. So be careful about these animations, attacks. There is another attack that is called, I call it puking. It basically gives a big AoE in front of it, and it deals also a lot of damage. But the Olun uses it very rarely, so I don't think you need to be careful. But just in case, I'm putting it here. And of course there are other attacks that are less dangerous. This one that you guys can see on the screen is called donut because it makes the shape of the donut the area of the damage. Then there is of course the leg kick. This is the leg kick. Then there is a smash when it puts the two arms in front and smashes without any circles. This smash attack can be quite deadly because not only it has the damage in front, but also it has a little bit of damage at the back. So you don't want to be at the back of the golem when it's doing this smash. You want to be a bit further away. And there is a longest animation where he smashes with one arm. This is the longest animation. I usually just call it long animation, or rather long attack. So those are the basic attacks of the Olun. You want to be memorizing them and of course avoiding as much damage as possible. You definitely don't want to be getting hit by the one-shot attacks. And the other attacks also do quite a lot of damage, especially together with the small mobs. You can be in a sketchy situation if you don't block or avoid those damages. So now we are gonna talk about HP mechanics of the golem. At 50% of the HP, the golem will do the attack with the arm, where the arm is hittable. At 40% HP, it will summon 3 additional small golems. And at 20% HP, it will be doing another arm attack if the arm is alive. So this is the normal order of the HP mechanics of the golem. But if you manage to reach 40% during the one attack animation, you will be able to change the order. If you reach 40%, it will summon the small golems first and then do the attack with the arm that it usually does at 50%. The reason why you want to be swapping those two things is because of course efficiency. During the summoning of the small mobs, the golem has an iframe. During the dying of after the arm, the golem has iframe. So swapping the order allows you to hit the small mobs while it's getting summoned. After that it attacks with the arm, you kill the arm in one go, and after that you hit again the small mobs while the main golem is in iframe phase, and you will be able to kill the small golems successfully and then kill the main golem after that. If you do it with the normal order, at 50% the arm launches, you kill the arm, you also damage at the same time golem. The golem reaches below 40%, but it will not summon the small golems right away. It will do one attack before summoning the golem. It will do one attack, one additional attack. It's a waste of time, and it can be a long attack that will be, you will be dealing more damage to the golem during that long attack, and it will be at, like, let's say at 10% when it's summoning the small golems. You try to kill the small golems, but the iframe phase is not enough to kill all the small golems. The golem itself is low. You kill the golem and the small golems disappear. You are losing the trash loot. That's why it's not good to not be able to change the order. That's why you want to be aiming to be able to hit 40% HP at the beginning, at least with the 2 animations, 2 medium animations or 1 long animation. If you are able to reach 40% during that, that's perfect, that's really good. That's what you should be aiming when you are getting into the Olun grinding. Of course, reaching 40% would be the perfect, but there are some situations when sometimes you either slack off or someone else slacking off and you mess it up, and the arm is launched. What to do then? Don't worry, there is a fix for that. It is a bit extra movement and stuff, but basically what you want to be doing is, one guy wants to get an aggro with some aggro skill. For example, for striker it's a crouching wolf. Use a crouching wolf while the golem is launched attack, launch the arm, kill the arm, and the guy with the aggro needs to run away far from the golem and at a distance when the golem resets its aggro. and because the HP is below 40, he will skip the animation and start the summoning of the small guys right away. During this phase, you want to be very actively trying to kill the small golems. The small golems get summoned with the back to the main golem, so if you have AoE skills, you want to be standing inside of the main golem and dealing damage through all the small golems, because they can be summoned in a different positions. It's random. Sometimes they are grouped in all in one place, sometimes it's like all around the golem. So but it's always the small golems will have the back to the main golem, so you want to be standing inside of the main golem and dealing the damage, back attack damage to the small golems, and that way you will be able to kill all the small golems and then continue killing the main golem. Always kill the arm at the first first attack animation. You never want to be having a second arm attack, because it's again a lot of waste of time. And if you're having issue with killing the arm in one go, then pop the demi-human elixir, as I said at the beginning of the video, and always try to do the back attack damage to the arm. At the beginning it might be a bit confusing where is the back attack for the arm, because the golem is rotating and you're thinking that you're doing back attack to the arm, but it's not doing any back attacks. It's quite simple, guys, okay? The back attack of the arm is always gonna be from the same position for each golem. Each golem faces different positions when it's waking up initially, yes? So basically back attack is gonna be from the side where the back of the main golem is initially when he's waking up. I will show you on the clip now the example, but I hope it made sense. Basically, when you're coming to the golem will be facing a certain direction, and the back of the golem is the side from where you want to be damaging the arm, regardless of in which position the arm is. And as I mentioned before, at the beginning you want to be aiming to be able to reach 40% of HP during 2 animations. But there is one animation that is kinda long animation. It is called the nuking, yeah, one of the scary animations, the one that can one shot. This animation can be forcefully triggered 100% of the time. So basically high-end groups, people, what they do, they force the nuking and push the golem to below 40% during that one attack animation, which allows you to skip all different type of random animations that it can launch, because without forcing the nukes, it can launch long animation, it can launch 2 middle animations, or even 2 long animations, and so on. Like, so the animations are random, and each of the animations are waste of time. So you want to be controlling the animations, forcing the nukes, and this is how you force the nukes. Let's get into that. Before getting into the forcing nukes, which is more advanced technique, more advanced min-maxing, we need to talk about prepulling. That's what I forgot about. Prepulling is basically preparing the next golem while you're killing the current golem. How it is done? Basically during the iframe phase, which is basically after killing the arm. After killing the arm, one of the guys goes to the next golem, gets an aggro of the golem, and comes back to kill of the previous golem. The reason why it's done in this way is because the golem has a huge 10-second iframe of waking up animation. So you want to, instead of coming there and waiting for 10 seconds, you can prepare the golem, prepull the golem while killing the previous one. So why this is tied with the forcing nuke, as I said, is basically because the guy that gets an aggro that prepulls has the first aggro of the golem, and the goal is to get the current golem as low as possible, do the prepull, get back, kill the golem, and get back to the prepulled golem before it completely wakes up, because when it completely wakes up and the the guy that has aggro is far away, he will de-aggro. You don't want to lose the aggro, and if you have active aggro, you want to be standing at certain position distance from him. Basically, the distance is approximately a little further away than the donut ring. After donut ring, you go slightly further from the ring, and that's where you want to be standing. And if you have the aggro, the golem will nuke you. So that way you can force the nukes and push the golem to the 40% of HP in one go. But don't try to force nukes when you are not able to reach the 40% in one go if you don't have enough damage, because nukes are scary. Nukes, you can die from the nuking easily. And of course, also the guy who has aggro will start the nuke, but you can re-aggro the mob, the golem, during the nuking, and the new aggro will change the position direction of the nuking. So if you are not experienced enough with the forcing the nukes, you can kill off your party members quite easily. But forcing nukes is quite advanced and high DPS required mechanic, so I would not recommend getting into it until you have enough experience and enough DPS. Alright, so there are a couple more things that I want to share with you guys. The first thing is that there can be a situation when the small golems get summoned, but the arm attack doesn't get launched right away. It happens when you reach the limit of the aggro. So usually it happens if you're doing pre-pull of the next golem before the arm is launched. So you're going to the next golem, waking up small golems on the way, waking up the main golem, and your total amount of mob aggro limit is reached. So that's why the arm will not be launched. So the solution is either to kill the small golems around faster or do the pre-pulling only after the arm is dead. Second thing is golem pulling. Basically, after the arm is dead, the golem will not be using the nuke attack anymore. So you can go away from the golem and the golem will start following you. Of course, there is a distance when the golem will go back to the spot. The aggro is the same range as before the aggro range. But you are able to pull the golem to a certain amount, which allows you to basically pull the previous golem to the next golem if the distance is short enough. There are only a couple spots where you can do it. The most popular spot is pulling golem number 14 to golem number 15, as you can see on the screen. Basically, that's the most what's it's called popular spot where to do this pulling mechanic. And the third thing is that if the small mobs are missing on the channel, you can find them throughout the mountains. Basically, what happens is when someone uses the map to teleport to town or runs through the rotation and goes far away, the small golems, they get waken up and they have tendency to teleport right after the aggroed guy, and after they teleport, they go back on their feet to their initial spawn position. But on the way back, they get stuck in some mountains and somewhere. So if you want to, of course, push your trash higher, you want to be having all the small mobs around alive. So you go and try to find them on the rotation throughout nearby mountains. They usually get stuck on the mountains when there is this large sledge. It goes downwards. Usually that's where they get stuck. So you can go try finding them and getting them unstuck. So the last mechanic that I want to talk about is Olun Heart. Olun Heart can summon up to 3 monsters. Once you enter the aggro range of the Olun Heart, it will start this animation of circling. It's in aggro. Then the first mob will summon in 10 seconds if you are still in the summoning range. Summoning range is a bit wider than the starting aggro range, but if you are in that summoning range, the heart will summon the next mob. The second mob gets spawned in 20 seconds after the first mob, which is basically 30 seconds since the aggro started, and the third mob gets summoned again 20 seconds after the second mob. So in total it takes approximately 50 seconds for the golem to summon all 3 monsters. There are a couple of ways how you can do it, how you can trigger these summons. The easiest way is putting your horse near the heart. So you come to the aggro range of the heart, summon the horse far away from the main golem, so main golem doesn't get aggro and doesn't kill your horse, but enough to get aggro of the heart and start summoning the mobs. And in 50 seconds you will have all 3 mobs summoned. Second way is try to do it between iframe phases of golems, which is gonna be quite more difficult, I would say. So I would not recommend it, but some people can pull it off. But I think the horse method is quite simpler. Just use the horse as a bait, as a summoner, and you will pay it. You have 3 hearts on the rotation and 3 additional mobs per each heart. 9 extra mobs per rotation, which is a quite nice amount of extra trash loot. And to wrap it up, guys, I will be showing the rotation, the 17 golem rotation that is being used by high-end players grinding Oluns. I will not be showing all the small golems that are around during this rotation. You guys can watch other people's grind videos, grind hours. As said, in Olun Discord there are videos of people pushing high trash loot, so you can watch those videos to figure out how it is done, how the small guys getting pulled, or maybe even to see how all this information that I told you on this video is being used during the grinding. Because at the end of the day, that's the most fun part of Oluns, in my opinion. Trying to min-max your grinding, trying to push the higher threshold, trying to figure out a new ways on how you can improve your grinding to get that a little bit of extra trash to flex in Olun Discord with the amount of threshold that you managed to get. But hopefully this video was useful for the people getting into the Olun grinding. Happy grinding, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and see you guys in game.